After cooking a full Thanksgiving dinner alone while my family watched TV, I finally sat down to eat. My sister laughed, pulled my chair out from under me, and said, "You don't deserve to sit until you clean up." As I lay there holding my wrist, my mother tossed me a rag and said, "Hurry up before the food gets cold." I ate alone on the floor that night. 6 months later, they sent me an invitation to host again, but this time, I had a very public surprise waiting for them. I grew up in a small town outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Our house wasn't big, but it always felt cramped. Not because of the walls, but because of the people inside them. My mom, she's the type who thinks hard work is for other people. My dad, same. My sister Morgan? Picture every mean girl you ever met in high school, then add a little extra smugness because she's pretty and popular. Me? I was the afterthought. The housemaid. The errand runner. If something needed doing, it was me. "Go grab us drinks, Han, can you clean up this mess? Hey, set the table while we relax." And every time, like an idiot, I thought, if I just do it right, maybe they'll love me for it. Spoiler, they didn't. Last year, a week before Thanksgiving, Mom called me while I was at work. "No, hi, how are you? Just straight to business. You're hosting this year. We're tired. You're good at it." I was caught off guard. I stammered something like, "Sure, okay," even though inside, I felt sick. Hosting Thanksgiving was no small job. Especially not for people like them, people who expected everything to be perfect and didn't lift a finger to help. Still, like an idiot, I agreed. Maybe if I pulled it off, maybe if I made everything perfect, they'd finally say, "Thank you." Maybe I'd matter. So, I got to work. I spent hundreds of dollars on groceries. I cleaned my tiny apartment from top to bottom. I borrowed tables and chairs from neighbors. I even learned how to brine a turkey for the first time because Morgan made a snarky comment once about dry turkey being embarrassing. The day before, I barely slept. I was up scrubbing the kitchen floor with an old toothbrush because it didn't look clean enough to me. Thanksgiving morning, 5 a.m., I was already up. Basting. Chopping. Stirring. Setting everything out in nice little dishes. Folding napkins like I saw on Pinterest, even though I knew deep down no one would notice. Meanwhile, the guests of honor, Mom, Dad, Morgan showed up at noon. No hellos. No offers to help. They plopped down in front of the TV, shouting over each other about the football game, and started making demands. "Bring us snacks. Where's the beer? This house is cold, turn up the heat." I kept cooking. Kept smiling. Kept telling myself, it'll be worth it when they see what I did. Finally, around 3 p.m., it was ready. I called them to the table. They didn't move. "Just bring us plates." Morgan whined, not even glancing up from her phone. My hands were shaking from exhaustion, but I nodded. I plated everything. Carved the turkey. Gravy. Cranberry sauce. All of it. After serving them, I finally made my own plate. My knees felt like they were about to give out. I pulled out a chair, ready to sit and eat like a normal human being. That's when Morgan smirked. "You don't deserve to sit until you clean up," she said, her voice loud enough that Mom and Dad both laughed. Then, quick as anything, she yanked the chair out from under me. I hit the floor hard. I heard something pop in my wrist. The pain was instant, white hot. I gasped, clutching it to my chest. "Mom?" She didn't rush over. She didn't even look concerned. She just grabbed a dirty rag off the counter, tossed it onto my lap, and said, "Hurry up before the food gets cold." Dad laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd seen all year. "Morgan?" Morgan snapped a picture of me with her phone, giggling like a child. I sat there, dazed, holding my wrist, blinking back tears. I ended up eating alone on the floor, using one hand to pick at cold stuffing while they cheered over football highlights. That was the moment I stopped wanting their approval. That was the moment I started wanting revenge. The invitation fast-forward 6 months. I barely talked to them during that time. Ignored calls. Skipped birthdays. Made excuses. Part of me was scared. Scared they'd realize how bad they hurt me. Scared they'd apologize. And then I'd have to forgive them. But they didn't. They didn't say a word about Thanksgiving. Not once. Then, early May, I got a text from Morgan. "Hey, can you host Memorial Day? You're so good at it, no shame." No mention of what happened. Like nothing ever happened. I stared at the text for a long time. I thought about leaving it on read. Thought about saying no. But then I had a better idea. I texted back, "Sure. Would love to." And I got to work. Setting it all up. First step, find a venue. I rented out the VFW hall a few miles away. It was cheap, ugly, and perfect. Rows of plastic chairs. Old tables that smelled like bleach and old cigars. I designed formal invitations. Fancy fonts, gold trim. Memorial Day dinner. Dress nice. Big announcement. I mailed them to everyone, Mom, Dad, Morgan. Even a few extended family members who never usually showed up. I knew the words, "big announcement," would hook them. While they were getting excited about what gifts or celebrations might be waiting, I was gathering evidence. I printed out everything. Text messages where they ordered me around like a maid. Screenshots of Morgan's Thanksgiving post, the one mocking me on the floor. Voicemails where Mom barked at me like I was her housekeeper. Even old emails where Mom bragged to her friends about having a free live-in chef. I put it all in a nice, neat PowerPoint. Ready for showtime. The big day. I showed up early, set up rows of chairs facing a big projector screen. No tables. No food smells. No centerpieces. They arrived right on time. Mom in her Sunday best. Dad adjusting his too-tight khakis. Morgan clacking in her high heels, tossing her hair like she was walking into a gala. They looked around, confused. "Where's the food?" Mom asked. I smiled sweetly. "This year, it's a little different. Please take a seat." They sat. Other guests trickled in, neighbors, distant cousins, even a couple of Morgan's sorority sisters who'd come to support her important day. The hall buzzed with low conversation. I stood at the front, mic in hand, heart pounding so hard I could barely hear. "Thank you for coming," I said. Before dinner, I wanted to share something important. About family. About respect. I clicked the remote. The first slide popped up. "Family is supposed to care for you," then came the texts. Demanding. Cruel. Then the screenshots. Me on the floor, clutching my wrist, tears running down my face, with Morgan's caption, "Thanksgiving fail, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy." Then the voicemails. Mom's voice, cold and dismissive, "Don't screw up again this year." Then the emails. Every dirty, humiliating little detail. The room went dead silent. I saw heads turn. Whispers. Gasps. Morgan stood up, face red as a tomato. "Turn it off. Turn it off." Mom lunged for the projector, but I had locked the laptop from my phone. Dad just sat there, his face gray. I waited until the last slide faded out. Then I said, clear as day, "This is why I will never host for you again. This is why I am not your servant." I packed up my things. Morgan was crying. Mom was shouting something about betrayal. Dad just stared at his hands. I walked out of the hall. Didn't look back. I thought walking out of that VFW hall would be the end of it. I thought I'd slam the door on them for good and never hear another word. I was wrong. 2 days later, Morgan showed up at my apartment. She was pounding on the door like a cop. "Open the door," she screamed. "You ruined my life." I didn't move. I stayed silent behind the door, heart hammering in my chest. She kept banging. "You think you're better than us now?" she shrieked. "You're nothing without this family. Nothing." I heard a heavy thud like she kicked the door. Then her voice dropped, mean and low, "You better watch yourself." I didn't call the cops. Part of me wanted to, but another part of me knew better. She wanted me to react. She wanted a fight she could twist around and cry victim over. Instead, I installed a security camera the next day. I also told my landlord, just in case. For a week, things went quiet. Then Mom called. I didn't answer. Then Dad texted, "Family meeting. Sunday. You will come. Be an adult for once." I stared at that message for a long time. Be an adult? After the way they treated me? Still, a small part of me, the stupid, hopeful part, wondered. Maybe they want to apologize. Maybe they finally understand. I knew it was dangerous. But I also knew something else. I wasn't scared of them anymore. So I texted back, "Sure. See you Sunday." Sunday showdown. I met them at Mom and Dad's house. It felt weird pulling into the driveway. Like visiting a haunted house from your childhood nightmares. Morgan's car was already there. I saw her through the window, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. When I walked in, they were all sitting at the dining table. Not a smile among them. Mom's arms were crossed. Dad looked tired. Morgan looked like she was barely holding back tears or maybe rage. I sat down across from them, calm. I didn't speak first. Finally, Mom cleared her throat. "You embarrassed us," she said, voice clipped. "You humiliated your family in front of friends, neighbors, everyone." I just stared at her. "And after everything we've done for you," she added, like the words physically hurt her to say. Morgan jumped in, voice high and shaky. "You made me a joke at work. People saw those photos. They think I'm trash." Dad leaned forward, voice low and deadly serious. "You're going to fix this." I raised an eyebrow. "Fix what?" Mom slid a piece of paper across the table. It was an apology letter. To them. Typed out, with blanks for me to fill in my name. I apologize for making a scene, for embarrassing my loving family, and for misrepresenting our relationship. They wanted me to sign it. They wanted me to mail it out. They wanted me to publicly say it was all my fault. I stared at it. My hands didn't even shake. I looked up at them, calm as a winter morning. "No," I said. Morgan slammed her hand on the table. "You owe us." "No," I said again. Dad's face twisted into something ugly. "If you don't do this," he growled, "you're dead to us." I smiled. "I was already dead to you," I said softly. "You just didn't notice." Then I stood up, slow and steady. I left the paper sitting there on the table. And I walked out the front door. I didn't hear footsteps behind me. I didn't hear anyone call my name. Just silence. The heavy, final kind. But it wasn't over. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Certified. Official looking. It was from a lawyer. They were threatening to sue me. For defamation of character. Because of the slideshow. Because of the pictures. Because I dared to show the world what they really were. The letter demanded I take down the photos, issue a public apology, and pay their damages, $25,000. I laughed so hard I almost fell off my couch. They thought they could scare me with a lawsuit? I wasn't the same kid who begged for scraps of their approval anymore. I called a lawyer of my own. A good one. Turns out, everything I shared was either public stuff Morgan posted online herself, my own private messages which I legally owned, or matters of personal experience and truth-protected speech. Their case was garbage. My lawyer wrote back a short, brutal letter: bring it to court. We welcome the opportunity to expose even more of your behavior under oath. After that, it went dead silent. No lawsuit. No more texts. No more letters. Nothing. I thought it was over after the fake lawsuit died. I thought they'd slither away, too embarrassed to show their faces. But I forgot one thing about my family: they hate losing more than anything. A month after the lawyer letter, I got a call from a blocked number. I didn't answer. Then my boss called me into his office. You didn't tell me you were in trouble with the law, he said, frowning. I blinked. What? He slid a piece of paper across his desk. It was an anonymous email. It said I was unstable, dangerous, had legal problems, and was harassing my own family. Attached were random screenshots from Thanksgiving, but cropped to make me look crazy. It was a hit job. A sloppy one. But it scared the hell out of my boss. I'm not firing you, he said, but you need to be careful. The board doesn't like drama. I sat there, stunned. They weren't just trying to scare me anymore. They were trying to ruin my life. I didn't cry this time. I didn't hide. I got up, thanked my boss for telling me, and went straight to my lawyer. He helped me file two things: a cease and desist order for harassment, a police report for defamation and cyberstalking. Turns out, when you send anonymous harassment emails from your personal Gmail account without using a VPN, it's really easy for the cops to trace. 3 weeks later, Morgan got a visit at her work from a sheriff's deputy. They handed her the paperwork right there in front of everyone. I know because one of her coworkers posted it on Facebook. You won't believe what happened at work today. I didn't have to lift a finger. They destroyed themselves. After that, things really blew up. Morgan lost her internship at a big marketing firm in Indianapolis. My mom started telling everyone I ruined her daughter's future. But people didn't buy it. The slideshow had been seen by too many neighbors, too many extended family members. The story was out. They couldn't spin it. I even got a few quiet messages from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. We always knew something was wrong in that house. Good for you. Took guts to stand up to them. Wish I had done the same. For the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't the crazy one. They were. But just when I thought it was finally done, I got one more surprise. Grandma called. Not my mom's mom, my dad's mom. The only one in that family who had ever been kind to me. She was crying. I'm so sorry, she said. I didn't know it was that bad. I told her it was okay. She wasn't there. She couldn't have known. Then she dropped the real bomb. Your parents, they're selling the house. Moving away. Where? I asked. South Carolina, maybe Florida. Somewhere nobody knows them. They were running away. Packing up. Leaving. Starting over somewhere new. Trying to bury the shame. When I heard they were selling the house, I didn't feel much. No happiness. No sadness. Just a cold, clear feeling that the last tie was finally breaking. But then Grandma said something else. They're having a goodbye party, she sniffed. Next weekend. They sent out invitations. I almost laughed. After everything, after trying to ruin my life, they were throwing themselves a farewell party like they were royalty. It made me sick. At first, I told myself not to go. Don't stoop to their level. Let them leave and rot in peace. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized. I wasn't done yet. They needed to see it one last time. They needed to understand, deep down, that there were no do-overs. No fixing what they had broken. No second chances. The party was at the VFW again. Same ugly hall. Same plastic chairs. When I walked in, the whole room went quiet. They hadn't expected me. Morgan was standing by the food table, fake laughing with some old high school friends. Mom was playing hostess, acting like she was some grieving queen. Dad was sitting in the corner, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. I didn't dress up. I didn't bring a gift. I just walked to the center of the room. People watched, whispering. I stood up on one of the chairs. Cleared my throat. And said, loud enough for everyone to hear, I just want to say something before they run away. Morgan froze. Mom's smile dropped. Dad closed his eyes. I used to think I had to earn their love, I said. That if I worked hard enough, cooked enough dinners, cleaned enough floors, maybe they'd notice me. Maybe they'd care. I saw Mom open her mouth to interrupt. I didn't let her. But they didn't, I said. They laughed when I fell. They mocked me when I cried. They humiliated me because it made them feel bigger. I looked around the room. And now they're leaving. Not because they want a new start. Not because of a new job. They're leaving because they can't face what they did. They're running. Dead silence. I stepped down from the chair. Looked straight at Morgan. You'll never outrun what you are, I said. Then I walked out. A few days later, the house sold. Cheap. Way below market value. Rumor was they had to take a loss because word got around about the family scandal. The new owners gutted the place. Tore down the ugly green shutters Dad loved so much. Ripped up the garden Mom spent years bragging about. Painted over everything. It was like the house itself was trying to erase them. Morgan didn't move to Florida with them. Turns out, after the police report, her record made it harder for her to get hired anywhere good. Last I heard, she's working part-time at a tanning salon and living with a boyfriend who cheats on her. Mom tried to start fresh down south, but from what Grandma heard, she doesn't get invited to the new neighbors' parties. Word travels fast when you're nasty. Dad spends most of his days sitting on the porch, drinking, staring at nothing. They lost everything they thought made them better than everyone else, the reputation. The attention. The control. As for me, I moved to a better apartment across town. Started a new job in a different city. Built a life they know nothing about. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that Thanksgiving. How I sat on the floor, crying, humiliated, hurt. And I smile. Because now, they're the ones on the floor. And I'm the one who stood up and walked away.